Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's best of five between Kasa Esports and EU Takeover. We are once again here at the FACEIT League, and I'm joined once again by Zav. Hi, Zav.
Hi, Nick. How you doing?
Very well, thank you very well. We are hydrated, ready for another best of five. We've got three to bring you this week, so make sure you are joining us for all three. But let's quickly give you an intro into today's teams. Obviously, Kasa Esports, if you've been joining us for any of the previous matchups, we've had a couple of changes in the roster. If Zav, you want to take us away with that and talk a little bit about the new players and what we saw from them last week in their intro series with this new roster.
Yeah, first game back after the break, and we got to see a very strong performance by Kasa with some new faces. Like you said, we had Leo in for Axer at the tank role, still playing that Zarya, which was very commonly seen throughout everything, but they did an outstanding job, and it was incredibly complemented by another new face, Skinny Legend, who was going by McChicken in game, and
Yes.
they were on an absolute tear on Vendetta when comboed with Leo on that Zarya. Now there was a little bit more of a difficulty that they faced in one of their later matches where they weren't on Vendetta, but their matchup, it was a difficult map where the other team was finally able to get their Hanzo going. It had a lot of long stretches of
Runasapi, I believe,
space. Yep,
yeah.
Runasapi. So a lot of long stretches that a Hanzo is able to make use of to get that sniping rolling. So that was a little bit more of a difficult map for them, but overall it was a very strong performance by Kasa. A really great showing by the new faces.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's what we kind of go back to tonight for them, if they're still looking at this Zarya Vendetta combo as their kind of core identity here, being so proficient on that as we saw. Or personally, I'd like to see a little bit of mix it up and show that they're not a one strat team. You know, they've got plenty of other things to show us left in the tank. And today they are up against a traditionally more difficult opponent in EU Takeover. And I want to definitely highlight the DPS matchup here between Proven and Hastic. Both are their kind of hit scan players. They play these Sojourns, these Cassidys. And I think that's definitely going to be a DPS matchup to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And along with that, I'm not positive, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there was a patch since the last time we played, the actual nerfs and buffs hadn't taken effect yet, and so that may actually impact things a little bit.
Mm.
Like Vendetta was nerfed immediately following last week's game, or it was
I believe
in
five
that same
damage.
day. But yeah, so a
Yeah.
little bit of a damage nerf. Some other nerfs on the tank side. Doomfist saw a little bit of a touchdown on it. So we
Good.
might see some. Yeah, exactly. We might see some different things coming out this week with those changes uh, coming into play and players having more time with those changes now being in effect. So it's definitely hopefully we see some different looks this week.
Yeah, and this is a big game for both teams. So currently, right now, Casa are sitting on a 2-4 record. So this would be a huge win to push them forward in the table, particularly with a couple of games later this week as well. And EU Takeover are currently sitting on, I believe, 2-5. So a much needed win for them. Sorry, other way around. 2-5 and 2-4 respectively. So a big game for both. Both teams really need a win here. So I'd expect them to kind of go all out and don't hold anything back. You know, show us what you've got. I think both teams are definitely strong in what they want to bring to this series. And in terms of maps, I think we're not going to be surprised by Nepal first. I think we've pretty
Nope,
much seen
always
that every
there.
single time.
Yeah,
Uh,
always there.
are there any other maps you're looking out for here that you think we talked a lot about Shambali last week as being a kind of Achilles heel for Kasa, but it's a new roster, so maybe not the same. The push maps seem to be pretty popular. New Queen Street is the one we've seen the most. We did see Runasapi last time. Are there any that you're expecting to be pulled out here between these two?
Well, right now, I really think any of the maps are on the table for Kasa in the current situation because we are seeing a bit of a different look. Things that maybe were problems for them before the break, maybe are not problems now with some of these new players, but there wasn't really an opportunity for too much of that to be seen yet. We've only had 1 week of games that we've gotten to witness with it. Shambali
Mhm.
Monastery, maybe it really is still an Achilles, but they definitely had a great time on Dorado. Runasapi
Yeah,
was
very
that
much.
was the very first time we saw Runasapi, so it was maybe a little unfamiliar in that sense, at least for us watching them on that map. And it was the one map that they did have a little bit of difficulty with in that matchup last week. But overall, it was just a really well done performance, and it was just a really quick 3-0. So we didn't get to see, uh, you know, a bunch of different maps. So we don't know how Saravasa or Junk City might play out for them, let alone any of the hybrid maps. The hybrid
Yeah.
maps seem to be the maps that we see the least of. It seems to be the ones that people don't want to do. Uh,
We've
as
not seen Blizzard
as
World
in the
at all,
first
have
three
we?
matches, we haven't seen Blizzard World. I think we
Yeah.
only saw Kings Row one time.
Yeah.
And then because most of the matches that we have seen have only gone to um, 4 games at most,
True.
and hybrid has never been opted for as a priority. We only saw it in the one time where they went to a best of 5 series, and since then we haven't seen hybrid at all.
Why do you think that is? Do you think hybrid maps are more difficult to I don't know, strategize on? Because I mean, me personally, I quite like the hybrid maps to play myself, but obviously I'm not a pro. So, for the pros, is it more difficult to kind of strategize between, the two different, very different styles between the cap and the point and then the escorting, rather than just having one map type to kind of try and get around? Do you think that's why
Well,
maybe we don't see it?
it might very well be the way that the hybrid maps that are present are designed, in that they're very choke heavy for getting onto that initial point. You really
Yeah.
are funneled through a single area.
Single, yeah. That's
So
true.
it's just it might just be kind of a pain for teams to deal with, and they just don't want to deal with it.
Mm,
Um, could also just be, it's a longer match mode, in that sense as well. But I think teams just prefer the consistency of what the other modes
yeah.
bring, rather than there being a change up in strategy, like we're talking about.
Yeah, the Flashpoint has been an interesting one to me, because we have seen New Junk City actually been chosen quite early on in the process a number of times, as a second map, for example, and we've seen both Kasa do that and their opponents. So it's quite interesting that that's kind of a very early choice as a map mode, and maybe that's because there's just plenty of different opportunities to fight within that game mode. And when we have seen Flashpoint, it's gone all the way a lot of the times. It's gone all 5 points, uh, you know, all the way to the end in these very nail biting finishes. So they are very good for us, the viewers, and for us, the casters, to watch. But that's always interesting to me is why that's been picked up so early on.
Well, and it's really interesting because, from what I gather, Flashpoint is the least desired map mode for people to
Yeah,
play.
exactly. Yeah.
People tend to not like that map mode. I personally don't mind it, but I have had people, not say great things if I vote for that map ever. So I just never
Yeah.
vote for it, especially Suravasa, which, we haven't seen Saravasa as the Flashpoint map, but
Mhm.
we have seen New Junk City, like you said. I think the thing people in a competitive sense might like about Flashpoint is that it's one of those maps, it's one of those modes where you get multiple opportunities to adjust and still be able
Yeah.
to get back into it. And we've seen Kasa do that themselves. And so I think it's definitely going to be an interesting situation if we see Flashpoint in the first 3 maps again. I think very commonly, it starts off with control, and then people like to do either push or escort. Push and escort are very similar for teams to strategize around. Push is
Yeah.
basically escort. It's just more of a back and forth kind of
Flip
deal.
flopping. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not it's a two-way
Um,
escort rather than a one-way escort.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
from what we're seeing here, actually, it looks like that when it comes to this first map of Control, the teams actually do get to decide what the map is, and it really does just is that people like Nepal. Nepal is just a better map. People do not like Busan or Ilios as starting Control maps, and it very well could just be the layout. I know people do not like Busan. I was in a Busan
Not a
match
fan.
the other day, and the other team was just being, they were not happy. They're like, who voted for this map? Nobody likes this map. So I guess Busan is not very well liked.
Mm.
Ilios, I imagine, maybe is just a little too much heavy on the knockoff points. It's
Especially
got
with
the
Lucio being so prevalent as well right now.
yeah,
It just you feel like you're asking for trouble in a who's the better Lucio at that point, right? That's kind of what it comes down to.
especially that
Um,
middle map with the giant well in the middle. It just,
ah,
you don't, it's just not a fun thing to play around. Nepal is just consistently nice to play
yeah.
on as a map.
And there are knockoff points on Nepal. We've seen that a number of times. But as we're kind of talking about picks, as we're waiting to get into the lobby here for game number one, let's talk a little bit more about the heroes and what we're expecting from these two teams. I'll be honest, I think from Kasa, I would be very surprised if we don't see something very similar to the Lucio Kiriko uh, support duo that we've seen Hex and Redex kind of default to and been very comfortable on. We've seen Skinny Legend and Leo. We talked about this Vendetta Zarya combo coming together as kind of being a cornerstone of their comps, and then proven Sojourn. I mean, we've seen Sojourn be so dominant in getting these railgun pickoffs, taking these flank angles and really taking that space away from maybe what EU Takeover want to do. And on the other side, I think maybe we might see some Sigma coming in from the tanks. I know Sigma's been feeling pretty strong in general, but the question is, do they just default to a Zarya? To match the Zarya that more than likely will come out from Leo's. We saw the bubble timings from Leo be just so exceptionally good to particularly deal with like dive things like Tracer, trying to get, which we've seen a lot of Tracer as well as kind of a go-to. But those bubbles are so good at just deferring the dive, taking away that little bit of damage that they need to finish those kills, and then the heals come in, and it keeps people alive so often. Is there any kind of spicy picks that you want to see them throw out here? That you would like to see from either Kasa or EU, really?
I think if a team is gonna look to get really aggressive, we haven't seen it yet, but with the change that has gone through in this past week, maybe a Zenyatta with the increased damage amplification could
Oh,
happen.
okay.
Very
Yeah.
aggressive kill comp, but we're definitely looking to. I think we're gonna see potentially. This is one of my favorite characters to play on DPS. I think we might see it a little more this week. We have seen Kasa play this as well. Freya, they did
Mm,
buff Freya. They increased that impact damage again, as well as reduced the spread on her basic fire. So she's going to be a little more consistent with her damage, as well as a little more bursty again. Ash has been something that we've seen a lot in matches, but might be less seen now that there is, a little more fall off on the
yeah.
secondary rifle fire, as well as the ammo gain being reduced from the Viper perk that she has.
Yeah.
So, there could be some changes there. As much as I'd like to, lean into the
I'll put
memes
you on the
of a
spot a little bit
Roadhog,
here.
Roadhog got a damage buff, but I don't know that that is enough to bring him into the scene. I know that he is a crowd favorite for meme time fun in matches with, hooking people all over the place. But, he is a very big target without shielding, without a real defensive other than just more healing onto himself kind of
Yeah.
deal. So I just don't see that making a change
Let me throw this
for the
out.
tank situation.
let me throw this out here because I know that we have a Genji player. And
Mmm.
now Genji has had an ammo increase. I don't know if that's enough to make him feel more viable, but maybe that, if they're going to run this Zarya Vendetta idea, maybe you can kind of do something similar the other way around and have EU Takeover running a Genji Zarya or something, to that effect, maybe to try and match the dive instead of protect against their dive.
It's definitely a possibility. People people oftentimes take ammo increases on heroes champions very lightly in a lot of hero shooters, but in many situations that type of change can actually be huge because it means you don't have to reload as frequently, you're able to keep pressure on more frequently, and it can really actually lead to a lot more kills overall. That maybe not necessarily for yourself, but maybe for your team, because you in general are going to be able to put out more damage in a more extended window of time. You just less downtime on what you're doing overall, and more opportunities to secure kills.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do like that you kind of bring that up because I did it immediately. I saw the ammo buff and went, I don't know if that's going to be enough. But I don't know. Genji is one of those that when you see a terrifying Genji player, it's very, very difficult to play into. As we talk about this, we are getting into game number 1 between Kasa Esports and EU Takeover. And surprise, surprise, guys, look at what map we are starting on. Nepal. We called it. I don't think this is ever going to change for the time being. So let's see if we get any switch ups as we are looking here. We don't get baited yet before they leave the spawn, but looks like Redex and Hex are sticking to this support duo of the Kiri and Lucio that they've loved so much, with Leo actually starting on the Sigma. So we've got a Sigma on both ways. We kind of touched on it very slightly, but didn't really go into it too much, as proven sitting on the Sojourn that we know they enjoy so much. And the Mei. I think the Mei is an X factor. They've been ruining my games, as Noddy already gets a pick on Leo to kick this off. And that is going to be pressure points now as Shaco gets Redex as well. 2 down, and a good start for EU Takeover, getting that first point and getting the percentage in their way.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting here to see double Sigma. That's not something that we have seen at all. In fact, we've barely seen Sigma, even with him having gotten those buffs previously. But now he's very much making his presence known as a tank here. We are still seeing the Sojourn. Very oppressive DPS there. Chaco bringing up a quick kill on Proven. Sojourn for Sojourn exchanged once again. And we are still seeing Echo coming out. Red X is on the Kiriko and Hex on that Lucio. Lucio
Why is
always
his
be
back
there.
alley
Naughty,
fighting?
Nice triple kill pickup there for EU Takeover, and we are getting to see Mei coming in. We don't see Mei very often, and it is one of those champions that, while not necessarily the most aggressive offensively, does bring a lot of utility with that ice wall.
Yeah, I loved it. I don't know why they were all on the scaffolding outside there, but that was great. And yeah, just once you get the positioning, and you can see them right now, they're in the middle, they're up the top side. It gets very difficult to try and push into this Mei, especially as the tank, because you can see the walls can just isolate you and cut you off from the healers so easily. And if you're not prepared for that, you can go down very quickly as the tankers. You see AJ with that window ready. Shaco also with the Sojourn. There we go, the cutoff, exactly as we talked about it. It cuts them off into that point. The Leo is isolated and gets taken down immediately from Twerk Nation. Finishing off that kill as the Lucio. Gets another one on Proven as well. This is looking pretty bad for Kasa. This first point is pretty dominant from EU Takeover as Omnica goes down as well, who I believe that is Skinny Legend that has changed their name to Omnica. So if we say the wrong name, there we are. As they are all kind of in this room. Ginger with a huge kill using that Sigma, or Shaco as well off the back of it. Gets Redex, and I don't think Kasa's actually got a kill yet. This is a pretty difficult first point for them, as they really need to warm up and get into it, as Omnica gets taken out by AJ after taking out the lamp. Someone needs to get in and try and touch. Noddy takes out Hex as well. And no kills, Kasa. Ooh, that is a tough first point.
Oh, we saw Nika get a kill on AJMR there at the end. But it was definitely a tough matchup there for Kasa. You know, first game, uh, and we're hoping Omnika is Skinny Legends for consistency, but we will get that
We'll get
verified.
confirmation for you. Yeah.
But definitely a tough situation for Kasa. There was a bit of a perfect storm of abilities being used there by EU Takeover when Kasa made that push onto the point. We saw the Baptiste put out their wall for the damage amplification, the projectile amplification, right at the same time that Leo got cut off from the team inside the point. No line of sight for healing, and just got absolutely obliterated down by EU in that situation. So really tough time for them so far, but here we are into the second round.
Yeah, and already Shaco making their presence known, gets the pick off on Proven early doors, and this forces them back through this choke. And these chokes can be very difficult when playing into a Mei. Omnica does finally get the kill on Shaco, so 1 for 1. This is going to allow them to walk up forward. We see Lucio trying to go up and over the top. Skips around the side, manages to avoid any damage as Twerk Nation goes down to Omnica. Leo gets Noddy as well. This looks better for Kasa. The kills come storming in one after one after one, and that is going to give them the early point. Please also note, we should note that the colors may appear wrong on the kill feed as you're watching it. So we are going to try and track that for you. So make sure you're listening to us as the colors are all wrong on the kill feed. Unfortunately, this is a node bug for a while. We hope they fix it, but just as a heads up.
Really aggressive showing here by EU Takeover, coming back out, not letting Kasa get set and really take control of positioning here. And it's a absolute rapid firing on both sides, but nobody goes down in that exchange. Oof. Proven getting really low at the moment, though. It does back out, heals himself up. Omnica down, brought down quickly, pulse rifled out by Shaco, and that's going to be a DPS down for Kasa, as we are going to look to see Ginger bring another one down, and it is going to be EU Takeover pushing their way in onto the point, wiping out Kasa.
Yeah, they got themselves in a bit of a weird spot there, Kasa, just round the side, and this is what the Sigma Mei can do. They can just hold you out of positions, and they couldn't really walk in because, you know, if you try and walk in one by one, the Mei's just going to cut you off and take you down. So this Mei is very oppressive for Kasa to try and work around. They do have a lot of ults on the board, though. They have 4 out of 5. And Red X drops it straight away. There goes the Kyriel on the floor. As you see them going to try and walk in off the back of it. The window is down. Omnica gets Noddy. That's a big pick, taking out that Mei defensive. Shaco, though, with the trade, gets Omnica. That's a 1 for 1. The Echo is out. They're going to try and walk their way in here using those Sigma shields and the Sigma absorb. Just trying to keep them going. Hex gets Ginger off the map. That's huge. Proven with the pick off on Shaco as well. That's going to be the picks they need. Twerk Nation just styling a little bit on Proven there as they get a little bit aggressive. Red X and Leo with the follow-up though. And Kasa get themselves on the point once again. They are not going to go down without a fight. The percentage is going back in their favor. And let's see if EU Takeover can respond in kind as they now have the ult advantage.
Yeah, and that was a really great showing by Kasa there. They went down a player early. Omnica went down at the start of that fight very early, and they managed to hang on in the numbers differential there and got some really nice pickups. And I thought it was this situation with Baptiste and a Sojourn is so dangerous because Sojourn already has an incredibly high damage profile, and when it's being just further amplified by that Baptiste wall, it can definitely be scary even without the pulse rifle.
Oh, they've used so much here. They're Proven and Hex getting the kills, and look how much they used to try and push in here. EU Takeover. The Blizzard's gone down. The Sigma ult gone down. They use the beats as well. They don't really have anything left in the tank. Leo jumps in with Hex, gets the kills. They also don't really have anything for Kasa, so this is just going to be an all-out brawl. And Proven and Hex getting the picks, getting what they need to push onto this site and hold it with 83%. If they can keep them off here, and you see Leo pushing forward, making sure it's going to be so hard for them to get back in because we're at 89%. It's ticking over. If they can hold them out here, no one's going to be able to touch match. It's all going to be on the Twerk Nation, as you can see them jumping around, making sure they can get the touch. They're held out, though. That's so nice from Omnica. Keeps them off. They do get a touch for overtime. There goes the ult as well. Trying to get the picks. The Mei does get themselves in the ice block. It's a brawl. Proven takes out the lamp. Sigma is on site. Proven getting the pick on AJ to finish that off after the lamp kill as well. Ginger trying to stay alive, absorbing anything they can. Hex on site. Omnica getting the pick. I think this is going to be Kasa. And what a great comeback after a very dominant round one from EU. Kasa have come back quickly and found their comfort on this second map.
Yeah, great job by Kasa to bring it back, taking it to a game 3 of this first round of matches. And it is right back to the open midfield. This is a map where we do sometimes see more snipers come out, as there is more room for them to work with. There's less, there's less coverage in the middle of the point, and lots of little in and out angles for them to take. So we might see some changes for one or two heroes, but definitely not going to see any Sojourn changes. Sojourn is going to be a staple that I think we see consistently until there are nerfs to Sojourn.
Yeah, I'd say this is just had a patch. It doesn't look like that's coming anytime soon. And we know how effective Lucio can be as well. We've seen Lucio being pretty consistent across the board. And we see why. Just so much mobility and damage potential as well, with some great utility with the boots. We see Leo kind of being bullied, to be honest. Proven does get Twerk Nation on the backside, but Leo is surviving, being sent on by 3 of them, but just backing up, staying alive as AJ does get another pick on Red X to even that out at 1-1. They are chasing Leo so hard in this backside. Omnica does get another pick on AJ as they just jump off now. Ginger and Noddy do not want to get staggered, so they are just willing to die on that one as they look to back up and reset.
You know, incredible job by Leo in that situation. They got bullied off the point, but they kept themselves alive. They kited incredibly away from the point, and EU Takeover pursued them with multiple members and essentially gave up the point for free in that situation as Kasa took everybody else off the point that was there.
Yeah, it's the definition of look at me, I'm Leo, look at me. And then the point is just left completely wide open for them and gives them the early percentage advantage. As we see, it has been taken over by EU Nation, so it's actually going in their favor right now. I'm not quite sure how that happened in the interim, as we see everyone just building up ults. AJ about to get theirs on the BAP, 99. They're about to, there goes the Sigma. The window is dropped as well with the lamp. They're going to try and utilize this to force themselves onto the point. The lamp has gone down. Omnica does get that finish off as Ginger is trying to stay alive on this Sigma. They do have good positioning, so it's on Kasa to get in here. But Leo gets the kill on Shaka. That's a huge kill, as you see Leo once again getting these early picks as needed, taking this dominant front side. Gets another one on Noddy as they try to get out with the TP. They can't quite make it. Red X cleaning up as well on the backside, and it looks like a clean take for Kasa, and they are looking strong now they found their footing on map number 1.
Not really sure how EU managed to take the point. I don't know if Kasa had just looked to regroup a bit off the sides of the point, and EU just kind of went beelined straight onto the point, took control of it. That let them get a lot of percentage onto the map, almost 50%, and immediately they're pushed right back onto it, fighting right away. Lantern down on the point. Very aggressive push in. They even, Lucio will pop beats, drop 2 kills picked up. Shaco and Ginger, 1 apiece, and it is going to be Kasa on the back foot, hanging around. Shaco taking down Red X. Leo does manage to pick up a kill on Shaco, but not before they fall afterwards, and that is going to be a wipeout on Kasa, as it is going to be EU Takeover taking over once again.
Yeah, and they did commit a couple of ults there as well from Kasa, which might hurt them. They do have Hex and Omnica both with theirs, so definitely look to the Echo here to see if they can make some big copy plays. But there's still 2 ults on for EU, as Noddy and Ginger both had theirs. So we are going to have an absolute brawl as Omnica gets Shago. That's a huge pick to take out the Sojourn early. Copying the Sigma to try and double up the Sigma there. Proven gets AJ as well. This looks really good for Kasa now, as they're getting the picks one by one. Leo and Hex finish it off, and this just seems like such a back and forth. One team getting the team fight win off the back of some ults, the other team coming back in to take over, and this is a really back and forth third point, and this is what we want to see between these two teams. They are both hungry for this win, and they want to start off strong with a map number 1 win. 92% on the clock here, 70% ticking up for Kasa, and Leo about to with an ult. There we go. As I talk about it, gets all of them lifted up, slams them back down, but a great wall to keep everyone up. Shaco off the back of it gets a pick on Proven. AJ gets Omnica as well, so it looks like it's going to turn around for EU now, and Leo now in a bit of trouble, trying to keep themselves alive on this backside with the help of the supports in the bottom, hiding, but I think he's going to be sent off. Twerk and Shaco get the kills, and it looks like EU have managed to hold on to that 100%, but what a back and forth point 3.
Kasa really needed to break the pattern there of that back and forth and that last push. Just really well done by EU Takeover there, being incredibly aggressive. Every time they were wiped off the point and regrouped, they just immediately full-teamed, bulldozed their way onto the point and just completely bullied Kasa off of it. And that ultimately won them the game there, that round, and that is going to be game 1 taken to EU Takeover.
Yeah, it felt like it was definitely a game of ultimates and how the ultimates were utilized in combination and how they were used to, honestly, as you said, kind of just brute force their way through. There's no sexy shenanigans here. It was just send it, pop those ultimates and just send it on point. And EU kind of got the better of those back and forth exchanges. Maybe if there was a little less percent on the board, they might have had time to contest and have another fight. But, a great showing from both teams. And I think it came down to very small moments that won them map number 1. So as we get into map number 2, is there any map that you think Kasa are going to pick here to try and put it in their favor? Any map you think they're going to favor for themselves?
I think that we could potentially either see, you're setting me up here for failure. I think that, so I'm going to cast my net as wide as I can.
Nice, yeah.
And I think that Escort, it's very likely that we would see Dorado. But I don't think they're going to go straight into push. But, now that I say that, I'm sure that'll be exactly what they do. But they do also like Flashpoint. We have seen Kasa go to New Junk City time and time again, and especially with Flashpoint being one of their more consistent maps that they perform on. And, so I think one of those two maps are what I'd like to see next.
I mean, we saw how strong they were on Dorado, so I think Dorado is probably a really good call out as well, because we also didn't see the combination that we talked about so much of this Zarya Vendetta that we know they really enjoy. So having lost map 1 in that way, they try to kind of head-to-head, almost a mirror match, realistically, with the exception of one DPS pick, but pretty much the same comps. They tried this Sigma, with this Lucio backing up, and they just lost out. So do you think now they kind of go, okay, let's default to absolute comfort. Let's do this Vendetta Zarya on a map we know we were really strong on previously on Dorado. New Queen Street, I also feel like is a good kind of map for this very flanking, dive-heavy kind of comp. And as we talk about it, this is spice, because this is one of the maps that we have not seen at all, and they have just thrown in a curveball. Talk about it, Zav.
Well, I was partially wrong. It is Flashpoint, but it is Suravasa. We talked about that at the very beginning, that Suravasa has been the map that people do not like for Flashpoint. Is the map that we have not seen. It is new. Maybe this is the influence of some of those new members, and they might be more comfortable on this map. They might really like it. They might have seen really good success on it, practicing in this last week, but here we are, Suravasa for the first time.
Either they're listening to us and are purposely trying to mess us up, in which case I respect it. Throwing your games just to mess us up, listen, I respect that. Or this is definitely this feels like if we're not practiced on it, they definitely aren't. So it might just be we've at least been doing some practice on it, therefore we think we're at an advantage, just to throw out this complete left field curveball. But As we see them just starting to have a look at heroes, we see this Zarya Vendetta. I would love to see this live Weaver. I would love to see Hex stay on this, but we're not going to get baited yet. This happens every game.
Well, and we're seeing
We're gonna
some
wait and
name
see.
changes. We're seeing some name changes
Oh, yeah.
already on both sides. We've got Consta in over on for EU Takeover, and they're rolling out with the Vendetta at the moment. And for Kasa, we're seeing Tricky Tracer out there on Vendetta now themselves. So Vendetta still making their appearance in this FACEIT League despite the nerfs to her overall kit. And it is an aggressive start right away. Red X picking up the finishing blow on Consta. So that is a Vendetta down straight out the gate. Proven getting really low, getting topped back off. Vendetta pursuing into the back line. Tricky Tracer finishing off AJ there. And it is going to be a nice 2-kill pickup early on for Kasa in this exchange. Getting after it right away.
Oh, this is definitely Skinny Legend. Okay, I think we've just been told that that's a streamer name, but it is Skinny Legend. Is that right?
Yes,
we're just
that's
finding out.
Skinny,
From,
yep.
yeah. You can tell by the way that they're playing. I mean, this is a very proficient Vendetta. So get ready to see some clip farming as Ginger gets a pick on Hex. Shaco gets Leo as well. So actually, the initial fight goes in the way of Kasa, but a pretty quick fight back from EU Takeover to get the point going in their favor. And we might see another very big back and forth here as Proven just poking down, seeing if they can get some damage, building up that ult, finding the angles. And Leo with a quick pick on AJ. Consta does get Skinny though, and that is Leo is going to have to go big here on the Zarya. Gets 2 already, so the Zarya could just push forward, and it looks like Kasa have already got the point in their favor off the back of it.
Not before EU Takeover got some good percent in, and this is just kind of what we're seeing out of EU consistently right now, is that as soon as they get pushed off a point, they get wiped, they regroup, and they immediately push back on to take control and take positioning. As Consta takes down Hex with Tricky exchanging for Shaka, 1 on each side. Consta finishing off Red X now though, so that is supports down for Kasa, and it is going to be a wipeout by EU Takeover. They have 3 people up left, 1 remaining. Proven is down, and that is going to force Kasa to reset and regroup.
His entire kill feed is basically which Vendetta. Vendetta, which one's getting all the kills. Great showing from both of them. They do get it to 99, so Kasa just need to get back in here, take a good fight. They've got some ults on the board. Tricky with theirs. Leo not too far away with the grab. Red X nearly with theirs as well. Twerk Nation does have the beats if they need it. Consta not too far away from that Vendetta ult as well. So this is going to be who gets the better of it. The beats goes down. They're trying to get in here. Consta looking for that 1v1 with Skinny, seeing who gets the better of it. Proven takes out Twerk Nation. Ginger, though, on this huge grab and a huge counter grab as well. Tricky Tracer and Hex off the back of it, getting the kills. This is anybody's fight still. Consta going crazy. Tricky still fighting 1v1, and Tricky gets the best of it. That's unbelievable. And I believe there was a C9 off the back of that. So actually, despite getting all of the kills, Kasa don't get the point because they were fighting off the point that whole time. And EU Takeover sneaked the point in to take the first one in their favor.
Yeah, that was an incredible showing from Kasa there. A really great fight overall. It was really exciting, and they did manage to clean up the fight, but like people were saying in the chat, you know, C9, they got off the point, and ultimately it went to EU Takeover.
This is an objective-based game, despite how kill-hungry you might be, as we see Tricky just going all the way in here, does not care, gets themselves out with a great cleanse to be able to back themselves up. There goes the bubble the other way. Tricky does go down. Consta gets the better of it with the backup of that bubble from Ginger. On this Zarya, this is why this combo is so strong. Shaco picking up Red X as well, and I think this is just going to be a full back out. I don't think Leo's surviving this as they go down as well. You don't want to stagger yourselves too much right now. Let them have it. You get the early percentage, and again, just back and forth fights, brute forcing their way in through this front side with speed and determination.
And we'll see if this pattern can be broken. Basically, no team has, you know, fended off the point. I guess technically, you know, EU Takeover fended off the point last time, even though it was more of a C9. But right now, it is that back and forth, and it tends to be whoever's in control of the point last has been, taking it. And right away, we're going to see Tricky Tracer getting the ultimate off on Vendetta, picking up a kill. Proven bringing down AJ. 2 down against EU. 3 Proven with a nice double. Another pulse rifle out, and it is going to be a nice battle there by Kasa.
Yeah, and it's exactly like you're talking about. I think what we're seeing here is, teams at this level, as soon as you get one pick off, especially with the comps that they're running, it's so snowbally. You get that numbers advantage. You get the 4v5. You get a 5v4. That initial pickoff that is coming so consistently from these DPS players, or even the tanks as well. Leo and Ginger doing a great job of getting these initial picks, and then they're just running over the fights. So it's kind of coming down to who is rushing in and getting this first pick off, as we see Tricky going in on the backside, trying to find that pick. Does get healed, manages to back out, but taking that backside positioning as this is just going to be a dump here. The beast does go down. Leo is so low, though. Gets the cleanse out. The Kiri is there to back them up, keep them alive. They were so low. Nearly has a grab. This could be huge as we see Tricky fighting on the point. Eventually goes down. It's a 1-for-1, though. Leo gets AJ, and there's a grab. Is it going to be enough? Twerk Nation, it is going to be enough. They do get the pick off eventually on Ginger as Leo picks that up as Twerk and Shaco are answering back, though. Can they hold this by themselves? Shaco gets another one. This is so good from EU Takeover, and I think they've broken the cycle to get point number 2. And oh boy, Kasa are gonna need to get themselves into this game. It's 2-0 down. There's 1 point left in it. They need to make something happen here, and it looks like they're gonna stick with their guns and try and brute force their way in.
Really unfortunate end there on that point for Kasa, but it was just, once again, EU Takeover has been so aggressive. Leo taking down Shaco there to start off their push onto this
That's
point.
The pick.
And it just, we need to see Kasa get some consistency with their fights on the point. They are getting kills, they are getting eliminations, they are able to beat EU Takeover. They have proven that. They're not being bullied out of the match in any way whatsoever. It's just timely exchanges. 1 trade apiece there for Kasa and Tricky. Proven bringing up another, and that's going to be 2 DPS down for EU, and that is Red X bringing up the rear.
God.
Proven on the final kill for Kasa, and that is going to be a nice victory for Kasa on this objective. They need to win this objective. This is a must-win point. All 3 points are must-win points for them to win this second game.
I don't know if this is just the boomer in me and me showing my age, but watching these Vendetta players, I can't even keep up with what they're looking at half the time. Nonetheless, making those micro decisions in the moment that they are. This is some insanely quick gameplay. Shaco kicks us off with a pickoff on Hex. That's huge. We've talked about how important these pickoffs are off the back of this Kyriel on the floor as well, and Shaco and Twerk just cleaning house. Tricky tried to get something done, manages to get 1 pickoff, but once again, the back and forth as we see EU are just so fantastic at these recontests. And this is really the name of the game and what is bringing them out on top here in this map number 2. These recontests are so well coordinated from EU. And Kasa is struggling to kind of defend them, really. Now, they do have an ultimate advantage here. Red X and Hex both with theirs. We've seen how impactful this Kyriel is time and time again. The Beats as a backup safety option as well. Tricky with theirs, as we see them going to try and get in here. The Kyriel is down on the floor. The Beats on the other side, though. Leo is a little bit isolated in this corner as they go back in with the Beats, picking off that Sojourn, trying to get them. But Sojourn is staying alive with the help of the bubbles. Leo does pick up Twerk Nation in the meantime, and these bubbles are so clutch. Consta picks up Hex. Tricky on the other side, going crazy, gets 2, and once again, it's a battle of the Vendettas. Consta goes down to Leo finally, so Tricky can pick up and clean up house, and this is so important for them. They're staying alive. Leo with another pick, and the percentage is still going in their favor. Another great recontest. Kasa showing their prowess now as it comes down to this final fight. 90%. They've got to get back in here. Consta with the ult. That's going to be the only one. They're going to have to sacrifice themselves a little bit just to get in here. And Tricky takes out AJ. Proven just stepping off to the side, clapping them with the railgun. And that's the point so needed as we go 2-1. Kasa holds on for dear life in this game number 2.
Really great aggressive play there by Kasa, and we got to see it a little bit there. They've managed to win off of that point, and then they still were applying some pressure as EU was looking to regroup, and that might have, held up EU Takeover's push in a little bit more than normal, or forced their hand a little bit, and it's really worked out in their favor. Hex, and here we go, Kasa popping off with an absolute kill feed right now. Hex and Leo getting one, Leo picking up two, Tricky Tracer with a double. It's a team kill for Kasa. Very quick, elimination off at this point and getting early control.
Have they found their footing in the middle of this game after going 2-0 down? The reverse sweep is on here. I don't want to jinx them, but I think I already have. Proven with an ult, ready to go. Tricky gets that kill on Consta. Getting the opposite Vendetta is huge. What a grab in that corridor. Gets them all as Ginger, AJ pick up off the back of that. Leo does get a pick. Here goes Tricky Tracer. It's only one Vendetta alive, so can they make it happen? Ginger, though, with a rebuttal. This Ginger... Zarya is going crazy. I think that's a 4K for Ginger. No one is touching them. Hex trying to stay on the point just to keep it alive, but eventually goes down. And what a recontest after losing Consta so early in that fight. Ginger takes it on themselves and says, hey, I got this, guys. Don't you worry.
I really like that play by Hex, though, to be the last person alive. Normally players would look to eliminate themselves in order to get reset with their team, but because he's on that Lucio, he is able to get back to the point very quickly and regroup with his team, so he's able to stall out the capture just a little bit while his team is respawning, and then is able to regroup with them, trying to prevent as much percentage being generated as possible for EU Takeover.
Yeah, and already they've got it back in their favor, so this is actually really good for them as long as they can stay alive. The Beast gets dropped. It looks like we're going to have a Beast on both sides. It's going to be a bit of an ult dump here as Tricky Tracer does have theirs. Hex gets the pick on Twerk Nation. That's a huge 1-for-1 kill. Tricky Tracer gets Consta as well. They are winning the duels, and this is exactly what we need to see from Kasa if they want to stay in this fight. Tricky Tracer again gets Ginger. That's a huge pick off to take out that Zarya as well, and it doesn't look like they're going to get back in here as Tricky is completely free in this backside, taking them on one by one, and the mechanics are insane. And it's a 2-for-2. The reverse sweep is on. We are going all the way to point 5. Have they found their footing?
Right now, we're really just seeing Tricky getting into an absolute flow state, just being a complete menace on the backside of EU Takeover. And it is always a joy to watch a Vendetta player go to work, because there is just so much going on. There are so many animation cancels happening. And here's the ultimate coming out, but they are going to bring down Tricky before they can get the ultimate off. And that is going to be huge for EU Takeover in this exchange, as they are going to one by one eliminate Kasa. Ginger with a double there in the middle of it all themselves. And that is going to be a team kill on Kasa, with EU Takeover taking the point.
Very quickly as well. I mean, that snowballed very fast into a pretty much full team wipe. And as we look across the board here, both Zaryas have Grav ready. Consta not too far away from their ult. Proven as well, not too far away. So these are the tools that we're going to need to look at here for Kasa to try and get back in. The early percentage is in the favor of EU, so Consta gets that early pick on Hex. That's a huge early pick. It makes these team fights so much harder as Shaco and AJ pick up off the back of it as well. Proven does get one back, but look at them go. It looks like EU Takeover have stabilized in this final point, and this is going to be a claw back for Kasa to try and get themselves back in. They didn't use any ults though, so still got those.
That's a huge back-to-back team kill for EU Takeover in this situation, as now Kasa is going to be forced to be aggressive. They are going to have to force their way onto the point as the time is ticking down. The percentage is ticking there, and we are looking at Consta ulti, not going to connect on anybody, but is immediately pursuing into the backline.
That's a huge grab.
Bring down Leo. Big grab went down. Proven does pick up a double off of it, but not before Leo went down, and it is still anybody's point to take. Consta bringing up a kill. It's two people down on both sides, and this is still anybody's game.
Proven
with a double with the railguns. The ult firing off. Triple Proven proving their way into taking the point for Kasa and keeping them alive in this match.
Oh my god, that was so needed. The overtime was so close. So they were just fighting all off the point, and the overtime was ticking, and someone touches it last second into the Proven triple kill with that ultimate, showing off in style and saving this game because it was so close to being over, as Tricky is getting full dove. They are not willing to let this Vendetta be free, and rightly so, as we see them Proven going down really low. It's Shaco's turn now as they've got the railgun active, trying to get these kills, pushing forward. That Leo is staying alive somehow. This is a lot burnt for EU Takeover, and they do have the point. Someone needs to touch Tricky. Does get the kill on Ginger. Shaco, Tricky though. Someone needs to take out this Vendetta. Can they keep it up in time? The overtime is ticking over. Tricky going crazy with a triple kill. They have kept themselves in this fight unbelievably as Leo cleans up on the backside, and Tricky, these DPS players going back to back in these team fights to keep them in this, as it's 65% ticking real fast, and we have got ourselves a hell of a last team fight in this game.
And it will be a hell of a team fight for sure, as EU Takeover is now going after force their way on, but that is something that they have done incredibly well with in these matches. It has been forcing their way onto the point, and here they are rolling in. No grab wells available on either side just yet. Hex down early to Twerk Nation, and it is going to be Kasa on the back foot right out the gate. Ruben does get one. Constant with two. It is still, it needs to be taken. Ginger is going to take down Leo, and it is looking like Kasa is going to be pushed off the point here in this overtime.
Yeah, and there's not going to be anyone that can touch that in time. Just a really good fight from Constant in that last one. I think Tricky maybe got themselves a little tripped up, got picked off early. The early pick on Hex as well really damaged them in that last team fight, but oh my God, what a game we had there. Went all the way. Vendetta versus Vendetta was the story of that one. Some great grabs coming out as well. What a fun map. I would love to see more of this, because that was a really fun map to watch.
It was definitely a really exciting match to see. It's always a joy to watch the Vendettas. I think what ultimately happened there was, not necessarily a C9 situation, but that second team fight, that even though Kasa won it, it came at the cost of them not having control of the point the entire time the fight was going on. They let EU take over. They had control of the point because they had won the previous fight, the one that they had needed in order to avoid, losing that overtime. And they had control of the point. EU Takeover comes back, and everybody on Kasa gets off the point. Maybe it's just the position of the fight, but everybody left, and so somebody for EU Takeover was able to get on the point. They get control, and so that entire time that team fight is going on, there is no percentage being generated for Kasa, and that very well could have been the difference of that match, is if they had managed to maintain control, even if it was contested, but they were still generating that percentage, they win that map, they win that fight, they're looking at winning right off of that fight because the percentage would have been generating that whole time.
Yeah, and I think this is quite indicative of these very high mobility comps that we're seeing, right? Soja and Lucio, these Vendettas, they're going to be running at each other, and they're going to be running in their faces to try and take these fights. But, these points are quite small, especially that last one. It is a relatively small point. So if you are looking to push and fight and get aggressive, these very high mobility heroes are going to end up off the point. And we saw quite a few times, honestly, over that game where they kind of just sold the point in effort to win the fight. And yeah, you do get the majority of the percentage afterwards, but you do give up quite a lot by not having someone anchoring and making sure that point is still in their favor. So crazy map. I loved seeing Saravasa. That was very, very enjoyable. And as we get into game number 3, Kasa have got to close out here. This is a do or die for them, as we didn't really get time to talk about the maps, but as expected, they are going to pick another fave that we talked about earlier, and we are going to Dorado.
Yeah, this is a map that they definitely like, and it does look like we are seeing a change up on the rosters. Once again, both teams making full use of what is available to them. We have Chef coming in for EU Takeover and Kitsune coming in on the side for Kasa.
Oh, Kitsune is still skinny. Apparently, they're just changing their name non-stop using streamer names. So we apologize for the confusion.
So, yep. So that is still Skinny Legend, still, bringing out the Vendetta once again, and it is seeing Kasa on the other side with Vendetta. So we are going to see the Vendetta v Vendetta back at it again, but we are going to see Shaco breaking out the Freya to mix it up. We talked a little bit about Freya being seen. This is actually, for the first time, no Sojourn yet. No Sojourn to start things off in these games. So You know, I like this a bit more. We're seeing a different front from both teams here. You know, Baptiste coming out for Red X, Tracer for Proven, but Shaco on the Freya, AJ on the Ana, and Chef looking to cook something up there on the Wu Yang.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about the Freya, right? And I think, you know, Dorado, especially this first point, and parts of the second as well, there's a lot of high ground for Freya to play from, as we see them kind of utilizing that right now. They've got the Diva as well to try and utilize this high ground and make it way more difficult for Kasa to push. And already, Skinny has just gone straight in and 1v1 Consta. Got that pick on the Vendetta immediately, and we are just going to see a brawl out, I think, on this one, as they're going to try and take these high ground spots. But, you know, this is where the Freya, I think, can be so good and effective. So I like that we called that out earlier. We haven't really talked about the Wu Yang yet, but we'll get to that shortly, as we are getting into these fights early. Already, the cart has moved quite a long way, though, as Kitsune just jumps up top, gets the kill, gets a double, actually, gets a triple, takes out Chef. Are we going for the quad? It's a 1v1. Can the Ana survive? For their life, they are trying, but Kitsune / Skinny Legend just pins them into that room. And oh my god, is this a demon player on this Vendetta hero?
You know, quad kill is always a great way to start things off. I'd say Skinny is feeling pretty confident on that Vendetta right now. And it's, you know, this was the map where we saw him go absolutely wild paired up with Leo for the Zarya. You know, we'll look to see some amazing combos, hopefully, in this match. And right now, EU Takeover looking to push them off the point and stall up that payload just a bit. And we are seeing the Wu Yang with that backline pressure. That's one of the great things about Wu Yang, is he's very versatile with his distance, because he can just, you know, he literally water bends. He just, you know, curves the bullets wherever he wants it to go. But Proven is still going to railgun down from the backline and bring one down for you. Take over Shaco on the Cassidy now.
Yeah, I think the Wu Yang is actually a direct answer to try and deal with this Vendetta, because obviously the his auto attacks bump back, right? So it naturally has this kind of knockback effect. He's got a lot of ways to kite. So I think it's to try and directly answer this pressure from the Vendetta coming out. But we see Kasa are just absolutely storming forward. Like, look at how far they've got already. There's 4 minutes left on the clock. They're already halfway through to point 2 with this time. They've got the high ground positioning. Hex gets the pick out on Consta already. These fights are going very handedly, pretty much in the way of Kasa, to be honest. Not really much of a defensive showing. As they're nearly already at point 2. And they are in at this corner. What a great grab. Skinny going off the back of it, trying to get the picks. Leo does somehow kill themselves. They take Shaco, though, in the meantime. Kitsune gets onto Chef. Shaco is doing a great job on this Cassidy, though, to get the picks, as Kitsune again gets... oh, sorry. We've already seen that. It's just doubled up. The BAP is so low. But all of this time, the car is pushing forward. They finally do have to back out of it, try and reset themselves, but they do have the ult advantage as well. Look, Hex, Kitsune, both of them with the ults available. We've got the beats there. AJ does have the window. Consta and Ginger not too far away, so we could see a grab Vendetta combo on the other side. As you see, Ginger does actually get really nice pick off with the help of the Wu Yang. I was about to say Waylay, thinking Valorant. As Wu Yang getting that pick on the Kitsune, so a lot of pressure taken off them, and this is going to give them a good position to defend from.
It was you know, we got to see that combo come out. Leo had a really great grab well in that doorway, and immediately, you know, Skinny was there to follow up on it with their ultimate, but they didn't get anything immediately off of that. We actually saw Leo go down at the very beginning of that exchange. I think we saw a really great defensive by AJ there with the lantern in order to prevent a lot of that damage that came out. And right now, Proven with a double kill to start this exchange off to put Kasa in the seat. In the driver's seat, and getting this payload moving again, as they're fighting around it right now, pushing EU Takeover back, and the beats are dropped, and they are looking to just be full in on this point. And there's the grab well out for EU Takeover, but they're not really in position. They're not really in a position to get anything off of it, as Kasa is going to pick up, you know, 2 more kills in this exchange and just continue barreling down into this second point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest. If I'm Leo there, that feels personal. That was a solo grab from Ginger with no real backup, to be honest. you could argue that maybe that was a bit wasted, but off the back of it, they're still getting the picks. Consta does get proven. Ginger as well gets Red X, so they have managed to defend. And look at the time; it's gone from 4 minutes and looking real pretty to now we're sitting under the 2-minute mark. They've got this high ground positioning. Shaco does have a dead eye, the best zoning ult in the game possibly. And Red X and Kitsune sitting on theirs as well. This is gonna be on Kitsune slash Skinny to try and get in here. They need this team fight realistically. Less than a minute and a half on the clock. They could get full stalled out here. The window is already gone. Leo does get constant. That's a great pick to start off. Ginger is stuck up on this high ground. Shaco, though, with a great Deadeye. Forget what I said. That's not a zoning ult at all. That is a killing ultimate as he gets 2 off the back of it. Proven does get AJ, so it's still to play for, but there's still 4 up. 1 minute left on the clock. It looks like they're going to regroup and try again. And this team fight is going to come down to Kitsune with this Vendetta ultimate. How much value can they get?
That Deadeye ult was vital. It just immediately took out 2 key players for Kasa in that exchange on that push. And even though Proven was able to pick up a double on the backside of it, the rest of their team was already gone, and they can't do anything by themselves in that situation. Right now, Skinny trying to 1v1 the Cassidy in the back room, not able to pick up the kill at this point just yet, and it is regroup time for Kasa on the payload. We do see Hex go down, Shaco with the pickup there, and it is going to put Kasa on the back foot now. Proven very low, does get finished off by Consta. Brings down Red X, but Kitsune with a double off the ultimate. That's a support and DPS down. Consta brings down Leo, no tank. Red X finishing off Consta. This is still anybody's point. They gotta stay around the payload in order to keep moving it and not fall off. Kitsune with a double, and this could get them the final distance. We don't know whether or not we're going to see them get
it's going to be close
in the overtime. It's going to be really close. They're looking to run up. The Cassidy getting in there, stalling them out, but is immediately bullied down.
Oh, the Doomfist.
We see the Doomfist coming in. That's what Doomfist will be seen for, is getting to the point in order to contest, because he is still so fast. He can still fly around. They are going to get that payload point and move into the 3rd stretch, but they only have 1 minute and 15 to work with.
Oh my God, Kitsune, we talked about it. They needed that team fight win. They needed to go big with that ultimate. Gets a double with the ultimate. Backs it up with another double afterwards to take the team fight. Gets 4 kills by themselves. Gets them into this 3rd point and keeps them in the game. Clutching when it matters. That is what the best players can do. Proven gets Consta. This is a great pickoff as well. Wu Yang does have that ultimate if they need it. They're trying to stall out. It's a great defense, but they are down as Shaco just goes in. Here comes the Deadeye. AJ with a double, though. Shaco as well. They're going to have time for another recontest, but Shaco goes crazy off the back of it. Drop down Deadeye. I don't know how Shaco is getting this value on this Deadeye, because I can tell you something. When I try it, it doesn't look like this anytime I play Cassidy, but making it look good in this game. 20 seconds left. Time for one final recontest. Proven with an ult. Hex with an ultimate as well. They're going to have to drop everything they can. Constant needs to get huge value here for the defenders on EU Takeover. This could be the make or break point. Let's see as they get into it. 5 seconds left. They're going to fight. Proven with a great pick on AJ early on. Needs to back out so they don't get taken out themselves. They are being chased as they need to stay on point. The overtime is there. The lamp goes down. There goes the Beach. Ginger takes out Red X's lamp, but they are staying on point as they dive forward. Leo takes out Ginger, and this looks really good to go all the way. Leo gets Consta as well. They're falling one by one. Wu Yang trying to stay on the point to contest. Leo takes out Shaco as well, who's somehow caught themselves behind, and Leo is just storming forwards, not taking any prisoners as Red X takes out Chef. They are spawn camping. Kitsune say, hey, you want to come out? I'm going to sword you in the face, as they can get all the way. It's going to be close. Maybe time for one last fight, but already channeling the ultimate ready. The Doomfist goes down. Ginger tried to contest. 3 meters left. Gets another one as we see them fighting for their life. Red X gets Consta, keeps them off the pond. Kitsune and Hex get them all the way, and Kasa are going to feel really good about that attack point.
Getting all the way there at the end there is so important, because that is going to force EU to have to answer entirely. And this, and just by, answering entirely, it doesn't guarantee the victory. So there's a lot of game to still be played here. This is very much a must-win match for Kasa in order to continue to extend this series.
Yeah, and like you said, the pressure is on now for EU Takeover. They've got their target. They know where they need to get to. And can they show as good on the defense for Kasa as they did on the attack side there? Really keeping us on the edge of our seats in that second point. Brought it down, but that third point was a bit of a wash. So let's see if we've got any changes. Looks like samey for now as they are getting themselves ready. I didn't really see as much value out of the Wu Yang as I was hoping in that one, but I feel like that was maybe just being dove on by Kitsune the whole time.
Chef was definitely feeling the pressure. It was a very difficult situation for Wu Yang, having a vendetta just be up your backside constantly. The thing with Wu Yang is that he is very mobile. He can get around the map very quickly. That's one of the things he does best. He's able to provide a little bit of passive healing, but very limited burst healing, instant healing to, help your team, and it, regens kind of slowly. So it's not as much healing throughput on a consistent basis that you're going to get out of him, but he does have good damage to offset that. So that's maybe something that they need to get a little more value out of with that Wu Yang, is a little more kill pressure. But we saw a lot of their kills coming from that Cassidy Deadeye rather than just overall pressure from the players themselves.
Yeah, as we see them pushing forward, they've already got it round under this first bridge. And they've used quite a lot of cooldowns for this as we see them just battling on the side. Vendetta v Vendetta in this corridor. The bubble keeps them up with a little wave to say hello. As Leo takes out Consta, that's a big pick. That's a lot of the damage pressure off from Leo. Has been doing a great job of getting these early pickoffs. Kitsune once again diving on that Wu Yang, making it so difficult. They've got themselves in a bit of a spot here, though. Backed up and just bullying the hell out of this Ginger. Nearly taking out the 1v1. The supports are backing them up as well. And let's have a massive shout out here for the supports on both teams, doing a great job of backing up these very mobile diving DPS players and making sure to keep them up during these very quick fights and very quick engagements.
I imagine the supports right now are sweating it compared to some of their previous games. The pressure that a Vendetta brings forces these supports to constantly be on their toes. We see the Deadeye coming out. It's charged up. Maybe not going to get anything. Doesn't connect with anybody for a kill. So that is going to be, the flip side of the Deadeye being a presence. But it's not going to stop EU Takeover, as they are going to pick up 4 people in that exchange. 3 people in that exchange. One of them was the Lantern, but they do bring down, the remaining players, Chef and AJ, finishing off what's left of Kasa, and that is going to let them take that first point and move into the second point. Similar time frame as Kasa had so far in this match.
Yeah, and even if the Deadeye doesn't get the picks, it does so much work in pigeonholing them into a corridor to avoid it that then they're just so out of position and they can clean up the fight afterwards really quickly. As we see now, they've pushed themselves forward, but Kitsune and Hex both getting pickoffs, and they may have gone a little bit too far here ahead of their payload, and now they've got to back it up. But here come Kasa. Kitsune just dotting around that high ground. And Leo does have a big grab here. We need to look towards Leo. We've seen how effective they've been with these grabs. Getting multi-man all the time. Gets off Consta again, who is kind of struggling now, not getting picked off pretty quickly. Looks like Kasa's marking them pretty close. As Kitsune does get Shaco as well. That's a big pick. This Cassidy has been putting in a lot of work for EU Takeover, and they're being held out nicely. Taking off a good amount of time for EU Takeovers. Proven now has their ult as well. A grab on both sides. But look at the ult economy advantage for Kasa.
They definitely have the tools needed for them in order to survive an exchange. The beat's ready to be dropped at any time. The grab well is out on the corner. We're going to look to see if there's a follow-up.
Oh, the counter grab.
See the Kitsune coming out. Counter grab, but the beats are dropped there to keep them alive. Leo is going to pick up a double. Hex finishing off Chef in that exchange, and all while Kitsune has held onto their ult. The DPS for Kasa have managed to hold their ult, and that is going to be important as they're going to have those for the next exchange that comes out. So they will be ready to contest right back when EU Takeover makes their return.
Yeah, really, really nice identification. They go, hey, we've got this fight. We don't need to expend anymore. Leo with a monstrous grab on that corner to counter. And just everyone dog piles on, recognizing so fast that they don't need to expend any more resources. And here we go. The beats gets dropped immediately as Consta goes in. Kitsune with that ult, though, does get AJ's lamp and AJ afterwards. So Kitsune looking to pummel forward after getting that first pick off. Consta goes low. Still being very reserved about the resources that they're using. Shaco gets Red X and Proven gets the kill back. Kitsune as well gets another one, so the numbers advantage here for Kasa. Still holding on to the resources. Red X is refusing to use this ult, just honestly understanding that they don't need it. Proven is going crazy with theirs, and even despite all these kills, Proven is still holding on to the railgun and not feeling like they have to use it. So despite winning 2 back-to-back fights, they are still holding on to these resources and keeping their ult economy looking very sharp, with only Consta on EU with theirs.
Yeah, Kitsune being the only ult burned in that exchange is actually huge for Kasa, coming out on top in that fight, as, you know, EU Takeover used multiple ultimates in that situation, starting with the Beats drop into the Deadeye, which didn't get anything off of it, and AJ not getting any value out of theirs, as well as they died immediately. So really great job by Kasa in this match so far. They're really coming into themselves at this moment and finding some nice rhythm here with Kitsune.
But it can all turn on a dime. There's 50 seconds left. They are not too far away from point 2, and if they cap it, they can get themselves all the way. Leo with another grab ready. Look towards Leo here. Another massive play needed to try and hold them off. 35 seconds. If they can stall them out and win this later fight, they might be able to just win this. And there we go, the grab. Leo just sat over the top with the grab drop from the height. Gets Chef. Proven picks up another. Shaco gets Hex, though. Consta does get Red X, so this is still anybody's fight. Proven gets Shaco. Ginger going in, and Proven is still standing tall on this Sojourn, but it is pushing forward. Someone needs to try and contest this point. Proven does not have the HP to try and get in here. They're going all the way 2 meters, 1 meter. There we go. Proven gets in. Is it going to be enough? As Kitsune goes in, Proven gets another kill. They're going to stop the 1 meter short. This might be it for Kasa, as they do. Overtime going, and they manage to just keep them off point number 2 to take the game, and they have kept themselves alive. Kasa Esports showing why they chose Dorado.
That was an incredible finish by Kasa. Great 15 kill streak to end things out as well there.
God.
Incredible ult economy by Kasa on the end there. That really is probably what was the deciding factor for them in this last stretch of the map, was being able to consistently have ultimates ready to counteract whatever EU Takeover was ready to throw at them. And they just did a great job managing that and not overcommitting their tools that were available to them, and just being ready to always fight back into whatever EU was coming at them.
Oh, it's so easy to just everybody press the go button, right? You know, you get into these very high tense situations. You can see the timer, and you know, these are top end players. You know, they're looking at all of this information. They're taking in all this information. They know that time is running out, and it's so easy to just panic and press those buttons and go, "Oh, we're going team fight! Everything, press everything." But this is what's going to stand out the top teams here: using your ults wisely. And honestly, I think that's what won Kasa at that game, is really smart ult economy, using the big ones when needed. Leo on this Zarya is just a monster of a player. And proving it there on Dorado.
Yeah, and you know, now we're going to be moving into game 4 here, and you know, I'm curious to see, do you think we're going to see you know, the 4th map be push like it always has been, or will we actually see something different and see a hybrid? Will hybrid make its debut? Now, this is going to be EU Takeover deciding a map finally. It has been Kasa deciding the last 2 maps, and it is now EU Takeover's turn. Are they going to go for the push map or hybrid?
I'm going to make a crazy prediction here.
Blizzworld.
I think Blizzworld. We've not seen it ever. The first time. I mean, but we have seen Suravasa. So they're like, I'm not gonna say it's never gonna happen. To be
Never
honest,
say never say
but
never. We thought we were
yeah,
never
yeah.
going to see Saravasa, and sure enough, there it
We
was.
literally called it at the beginning of the cast. We said, "Hey, we've never seen Saravasa," and they decided to screw us up. I think we're gonna get Kings Row, and I'm gonna say it for one reason. I think that a push map like New Queen Street favors this Zarya Vendetta style of play. And we've seen since they've switched to that in the last two maps, Kasa have looked very, very good. And they only lost the second map to the tiniest of margins. And then they kind of dominated Dorado quite handedly. So I think if you do this push map, there's a lot of angles for a Vendetta Zarya style comp to play in. Whereas I feel like EU Takeover want to do this front to back, like we saw the Sigma May in the beginning. You run a Sigma May on a very chokehold map like Kings Row, I think you're looking that favors you a lot more. So I wonder if they try and take them off comfort here by picking a map that kind of forces you into a very front to back style like Kings Row.
Well, and I was going to say, I think the times that we've seen EU Takeover be most comfortable has been when they've made utilization of a more supportive DPS like the May and like the Symmetra. Those walls were always incredible value for them, and it looks like we are going to see Runa Sapi. Instead, there is no hybrid map still at this point. We will have to go to a game 5 if we want to see the hybrid map come into play. But we are going to see Runa Sapi for the second time for ourselves. It is normally New Queen Street, but we are seeing Runa Sapi come into play. So we got those long angles once again coming into action. And that is something that Kasa had some difficulty with last week. But, you know, they didn't play the Vendetta into it. And we'll have to look to see if they choose to do the same thing again this time.
Man, yeah, throwing us through a bit of a loop here. Oh gosh, New Queen Street, we've seen them do a lot on, and Runa Sapi does have a lot of different flank angles and height. You know, it's got a lot of height differentials. But as you said, you know, there are a lot of long streets that you can play more snipery. You know, things like Ash or Hanzo that we saw last week. And let's see, as we get into it, they're locking in. We're not going to get bedded until they leave the spawn, but Leo going to an Orisa here, which really we've not seen. I wonder why that choice is being made instead of a Zarya, as Kitsune is still running this Vendetta.
We haven't seen it from Leo yet, but we did see Zarya. We did see the Orisa a little bit early on from Kasa in the first games that were played, and it was one of the first times that they won on New Junk City. And right away, Consta and Shaco coming in hot, picking up 2 kills off on Kasa. They are not waiting. They are not letting Kasa get comfortable. Shaco and Consta back and forth, 2 kills apiece. Ginger bringing up the last kill. That is a team kill to start things off for them. And EU Takeover is ready to rumble in this game 4.
Yeah, and instantly Leo switches to the Sigma, recognizing that, this front to back using the Sigma is what EU Takeover, you know, we talked about it just before. This is the style that they want to play. So this is going to be really interesting from Kasa. It feels like they're kind of blending a little bit. You know, Consta and Kitsune both still on these Vendettas, just brawling out with each other. This front to back Sigma, Leo's going to have to step up here, not on the Zaryan. As I talk about it, straight away gets the pick onto Consta, which is going to allow them to get in and try and take advantage in this fight in the 5v4. As you see them brawling in this top side, just Kitsune diving in and out, but 37 meters already gained, and a nice shield to keep Kitsune up there on 1 HP, as we've seen Leo be so good at on this tank role.
A great turnaround by Kasa, but they haven't really been picking up kills, as Proven gets the railgun off on Consta. Consta down back-to-back times. You know, we saw them come out. We saw Leo come back on that Sigma, pick up a kill on Consta, and right away Consta went back down in the start of the next fight. But now we have EU Takeover getting the return exchange. Shaka, Ginger, Twerk all picking up kills each. AJ, everybody on EU Takeover getting involved with the kills of Kasa, getting this payload turned right back around and pushing back into Kasa's territory.
Yeah, we do see a good economy advantage as well for EU. So winning these fights without really having to expend much, and we talked about how key this was last game. So if EU Takeover can keep this up, they're looking pretty good for this one. And this Sigma seems to be causing a lot of problems as Red X drops that on the floor. The beats goes as well. Consta gets the better of Red X, and oh my god, this is just a absolute roll. And these fights are not going the way of Kasa at all. And I think they need to drop these ults in this fight and change, because this comp does not seem to be working for them in this one. As a huge early advantage for EU Takeover.
Yeah, you know, EU Takeover got that first fight off of the point, and they've just been looking really comfortable since. We see the gravity coming out by Leo, dumping that ult like you called for, picking up a double to start things off. Leo,
okay,
triple,
Leo.
The Sigma going crazy. Maybe not getting ready to change off of it just yet. Kitsune picking up Shaco on the backside and pushing up to take positioning, an aggressive stance for him on this Vendetta.
I apologize, Leo. I wasn't aware of your game. That was unbelievable. Quickly getting 3 picks to win them that fight. And still quite a lot of ults available for them. Proven, Kitsune. Although Proven goes down early, that's a huge pickup from Shaco. Takes out a huge amount of their damage, as well as a big ultimate. Kitsune looking for the angle off the back of that ult. Doesn't get any. The beats gets dropped as well. This is a big commitment from Kasa. They need to win out this fight off the back of it, but they are staying alive on EU, and they are keeping this fight going, baiting out all of these ults. Proven coming back in with theirs. They might need to use it to get back in. Hex does get Contra. It's a 1-for-1. Shaco gets Kitsune though, and it's Shaco going crazy, getting the numbers advantage for EU Takeover. And there's a big commitment from Kasa, and it looks like it's really come back to bite them in the keister as it moves back in the way of EU.
That was really tough to see. Unfortunately, Proven got taken out. And was just pressured early on and not able to support too much there for Kitsune, as Kitsune was just dancing around in the back line of EU Takeover trying to finish somebody off. They were just not able to get those finishing blows out. They were getting the targets down low multiple times over on EU Takeover side, but just were not able to get that last hit to eliminate them. So, you know, good job by EU Takeover staying alive there, but, you know, unfortunate for Kasa not getting those finishers that they need.
And here we go, another dump. Proven pops theirs, but Ginger marks them so well, takes them out before they can get any value. Kitsune going in. Leo gets a kill as well. It's trades all round, 2 for 2. As Kitsune making their way back in once they come back alive. The Sigma roll is used as well. Doesn't really get any value from that, but the car is in contest. Shaco and AJ both with ults, as Leo gets the better of Ginger with a great stun to floor them and finish off that kill. Consta trying to back up, make sure they can get back to their team without issue, as the car now starts to move back in Kasa's favor. Not bad. Leo with an ult as well, but economy advantage. Shaco and AJ both with theirs. That's a great stun. Nearly takes out Consta straight away. So really nice attempt off the back of the Surgeon Disruptor as well. But here we go. Shaco, AJ drop them, and this is going the other way. Red X, Ginger both with a kill. Trades either side. Can they get value from these ults being dropped? This is all on EU. They need to try and get more here. Twerk Nation does get Proven. Now we see them falling. Leo gets Ginger though. It's one, and Kitsune does get Consta. It's huge. AJ with a double off the backside though, picking off those really low HP heroes as everyone is fighting in this corridor. And AJ on this carry gets a triple at the end and keeps it in the favor of EU.
That was an incredible fight to witness. It was a lot of back and forth. There were great kills on all sides of it. Unfortunately, I think that fight ultimately got decided at the beginning where, you know, it started off with Leo getting a great stun on Consta, went to get the secured kill, not quite able to get it, saw multiple members of EU Takeover grouped together in the middle of the alleyway trying to back up, threw his ult out there, didn't get anybody in it, and that allowed EU Takeover to know, okay, they don't have the Sigma ult anymore, and we can be aggressive. We can engage on them, and there will not be a Sigma ult to peel us off or stop our advance. And they really just went all in on that fight, and it showed.
Yeah, and Kitsune getting pick off is massive because they're the ones with the ultimate that could have turned the fight. It's quite difficult on this map for Vendetta, I think. There's a lot of corners that people can try and hide around as well. When that ult is popped, it's a great stun. Nearly gets the kill from Ginger. They are dropping everything literally on both sides. The beats gets dropped. Here goes the Kyriel off the back of it as well to keep them going. Red X really wants to take this fight. Shaco, though, gets proven. It's a great early pickup. Twerk as well gets Red X. And oh no, they've dropped quite a lot for this Kasa, and they are not getting the value from it. There's only 2 minutes left. And remember, the pressure is on Kasa here. This is end game. If they lose this game, it is a 3-1 victory for EU, and they are continuing to push this forward, making it harder and harder for Kasa to get back into this game. Leo and Kitsune with ults on the board.
But, you know, this isn't the first time that we've seen Kasa on push be in this type of situation and manage to completely push the payload all the way back the other way. We are going to see the ultimate coming out right here, and it is going to be Kasa with an immediate pickup on Kitsune. Ginger taking down Leo. It's a mirror match kill feed to start things off, as AJ also takes out Red X, and Ginger is going to wipe up the remainder of Kasa, and that is going to be a team kill here as the robot looks to push in, and they're going to posture.
This might be all the way
to spawn kill. This could be the end of it. Kasa kind of has to just force their way out, but they might not be able to get out there in time.
Proven with the kills that they need, coming in, getting 2, that's huge to get them back in here because this game could have been over, but Ginger pushing forward with AJ Consta as well off the back of it. Leo just stalling on point. They do have an ult to work with to try and keep themselves on this. Just punches Consta out, and a lovely rock to kill Ginger. Leo holds on for dear life, but they have to nearly triple the distance. So the way that these push maps work, this isn't just one fight they've got to win now. They've got to win multiple back to back in the next minute. So this is going to be all about conserving those ults as much as you can. Use them wisely. You've got Leo and Proven, Hex and Red X about halfway there. Kitsune with nothing. Can they win these fights? Here we go. Leo pulls them up, but I don't think gets any kills off the back of it. Consta gets to pick on Proven as well. That's a lot of their damage out. Kitsune going low, gets bullied by Twerk Nation. There's 25 seconds, and oh no, EU Takeover are getting the picks. There's 20 seconds left. If I'm Kasa, I've just got to regroup and try and take this second fight because they might not even want to push the robot here. Leo just jumping themselves off to try and get back, and I think they're going to just leave the point so that someone has to try and touch. I think it's going to have to be Hex on this. Lucio is going to have to try and touch this point. There's 5 seconds left. They know it as well. Kitsune gets in. Ginger does get the kill, though. Can anyone touch? There's overtime. They have managed to touch, but it's going to be a sloppy fight. They've got to get the picks. AJ goes solo. Twerk gets Proven, though. Can they keep going in? Doomfist just to keep them in this. Twerk Nation gets Proven again. Somehow Ginger with Leo. Oh, no. EU Takeover. This looks so good for them, Kasa. This is your last stand, and I think they've gone. What a game from EU Takeover to win this. The last minute BM pause to finish this game, but Kasa going down 3-1, and EU Takeover take it over in style.
That was a tough finish for Kasa in this exchange. It was not without contention, though. I think overall, this was a really good performance through and through by Kasa. There's just a few small mistakes here and there in those early games that essentially cost them this series. You know, the C9 was the start of it all that they had, you know, for the start of the Suravasa map. I think the Suravasa map should have been a victory map for them. For all intents and purposes, that should have absolutely been a map that they won. They had 2 instances on which that, you know, there was getting off the point that cost them, you know, one of the points of that fight, and that could have been, you know, the game 5 decider, or that could have been a momentum shift that, you know, allowed them to have more confidence and momentum to maybe have this be a 4-1 victory or a 3-1 victory for them, and not for EU Takeover.
Yeah, and I mean, good signs of life from Kasa in terms of, you know, the games were very competitive. Even this one, it kind of got away from them a little bit towards the end and, you know, the back end of this map. But they showed great resilience to come back in map 2 and give us a all-the-way fight, nearly taking the whole thing, to be honest. And then the third map showed really good on Dorado. That's definitely a strong map for them. But EU Takeover just stabilizing. And I think Kasa are in danger here of maybe pigeonholing themselves into a single strat here with the Vendetta um, and Zarya combo. And I think other teams might start, if they're doing their research, they might start to try and target that a little bit, because we've seen this kind of front to back. They've struggled a bit more. And Proven definitely getting picked off quite a lot, particularly in that last map. Uh, so just doing honestly, I think Shako just did a great job of finding those angles and getting the better of that Sojourn exchange. But that's going to be it from us today. 3-1, and Kasa have got some work to do for the rest of this week to really bring themselves back in and bring themselves a shot of promotion.
Yep, they're gonna have to do, a quick review of everything. See what mistakes were made tonight, and but not dwell on it because they've got multiple games remaining this week, so they can't think about tonight too much as they have plenty on their plate going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's going to be us for today. We really hope you enjoyed this series. We're going to be back on Wednesday. We've got 2 more series this week on Wednesday and Friday. So I really hope you come and join us then. We'll be here casting once again and bringing you all the action from Kasa Esports side. So I've been Simply Nickish. It's been a pleasure. And I will see you again on Wednesday.
I'm Zav, and we're looking forward to seeing you later this week.
See you later, guys. Have a great night.